What was unique about the Embassy Cultural House? It was the thing about the Embassy Cultural House for artists coming there, at least certainly for myself, straight out, fairly recently out of Ontario College of Art, as it was at the time, in the 80s, is that it wasn't just a gallery space. You know, it had this different kind of energy of, and I'm going to use my quotation marks here, but real people being in a real space, doing their life, living, you know, and that we sometimes, I think, forget that art comes out of real people experience. It isn't something that only happens in a gallery. So for many, many artists, I think that opportunity to just associate with people in a space, and then their own response becomes part of their practice. It becomes part of the process of being an artist. So then the art becomes part of the whole process of living, rather than being a separate thing. The legacy of the Embassy Cultural House has been, well, it goes back to when it first started. I'm not sure that many people in different communities in Canada would actually say, oh yes, I did this, I'm doing this now because of the Embassy Cultural House. But I think there's no doubt in my mind anyway, that the kind of projects that they initiated here were already starting to happen in Toronto and Southern Ontario, with artists showing outside of the gallery system. But what kept happening more and more was there was this wave of artists finding unique spaces to do site-specific projects. And I think that's what the influence of the Embassy Cultural House really ends up being, is that because Ron and Jamili brought in all of these different people and different ideas and started these different projects, and the tabloid itself is like this incredible symphony of voices, right, and sounds. So and that kind of stuff just echoes out. So people started doing shows in other kinds of hotel settings, or myself and my group, we did a show in a housing development for people who were quote unquote hard to house. So it was a transition residence, and those things are still happening. And I don't think it's any accident that in the last couple of years there's been a show that looked back at the Cameron House in Toronto. The Mocha's, that was at the Mocha. Ray Johnson's been doing other shows involving different artists from that same period. There's the CCAC, and CCCA, sorry. Richard Monjet and David Sylvester have been collecting information and archival material from artists who are all involved in collectives and people who are doing site-specific work. And there's all this very particular period of time. And that's going, I'm really curious to see how that resonates now for art students and artists making work now, for writers, filmmakers, and so on. Yeah.